Our Around the World segment tonight, President Trump is threatening North Korea after the regime threatened to launch a nuclear attack on the U.S. territory of Guam. Trump threatened to unleash fire and fury against North Korea, making the possibility of military conflict over North Korea's nuclear program more real than it's ever been. Watch.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
With me now is global risk analyst John Sidolides. John, do you think that there's a diplomatic solution to this situation? We know that Kim Jong-un is pretty crazy and unpredictable.
It's very difficult to see, Stephanie, a diplomatic engagement with Kim Jong-un directly. I think the solution lies in perhaps a three-pronged approach that involves economic sanctions, possibly cyber attacks against future missile launches, and a significant bolstering of U.S. defenses, both of the U.S. forces in the Pacific Ocean, as well as those of our allies, South Korea and Japan. One, to send a very strong signal to China that it really is up to them to help us avoid a military conflict. And secondly, potentially, to influence those people in the North Korean elite that their very survival is at risk as long as Kim Jong-un continues to develop a nuclear weapons capability and threaten the United States.
Well, North Korea has been hit with sanctions over and over again, and the latest round, obviously, that's going to impact their economy big time. But what more can Russia and China do? We know that they sided with us on these sanctions, but, you know, how much further can they take this?
There's a lot of room still to maneuver, Stephanie, and especially from China's position. China essentially provides almost all of North Korea's oil supply practically for free. If China can be persuaded to cut off that oil supply, that could be one of the fastest ways to destroy the North Korean economy and perhaps trigger a popular uprising. Similarly, if the United States works out an international agreement with countries around the world that have welcomed North Korean citizens to work in those countries and send very valuable financial remittances back to North Korea, and all those countries agree to immediately deport tens of thousands of North Koreans back to North Korea, you could also see a further crippling, not just of the economy, because Kim Jong-un is willing to starve his own people in order to remain in power, but to begin to affect that elite that is protecting Kim Jong-un and signal to them that the time has come for a new leadership in North Korea.
Well, he's killed some of his own family members, so the guy's a lunatic. Now, the Washington Post, if you believe this or not, they're saying that North Korea produced a nuclear warhead that can fit inside its missiles. What exactly does that mean? I mean, for us, for Japan, for South Korea?
Well, especially for us, Stephanie, this is in fact a threshold event, and it makes far more real and far more dangerous the North Korean nuclear arsenal to the United States. The good news is that we don't have any evidence that a nuclear warhead that the North Koreans might put on a missile to reach the U.S. would be able to withstand the re-entry process and would probably be destroyed entering the atmosphere. And they still don't have precision targeting, although if you're trying to hit downtown Washington or New York or LA, you can miss by several miles and still annihilate a population. But it's a very serious new risk level, and it's one that we didn't anticipate North Korea reaching for several more years. So they are accelerating their nuclear weapons capability on a far faster pace than anyone had anticipated several months ago.
John, I wanted to get your reaction to this. It was Bill Clinton in the 90s that I would argue he paved the way for a nuclear North Korea. And it reminds me of today, present time, the Iran nuke deal. And I mean, he had almost exactly the same speech as Obama. So history is, playing out again. And I have the video, roll tape.
Before I take your questions, I'd like to say just a word about the framework with North Korea that Ambassador Gallucci signed this morning. This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons. South Korea, with support from Japan and other nations, will bear most of the cost of providing North Korea with fuel to make up for the nuclear energy it is losing. And they will pay for an alternative power system for North Korea that will allow them to produce electricity while making it much harder for them to produce nuclear weapons. The United States and international inspectors will carefully monitor North Korea to make sure it keeps its commitments. Only as it does so will North Korea fully join the community of nations.
So I guess what we're learning here is that evil dictators can't be trusted.
Well, wishful thinking to the extreme, obviously, Stephanie. And Bill Clinton, I think, was highly irresponsible in allowing this problem to fester. But I think also we need to look at the administrations of both Presidents Bush and Obama, who allowed it to reach this level of potential maximal danger to the United States. This is a 20-year-old problem, 3 administrations, and I think President Trump deserves due credit for not allowing this issue to be kicked down the can again. He intends to take care of it, hopefully without a military conflagration. But I think we will very much need China to be persuaded it's in their own interest to help us work together and take care of North Korea before this becomes a major problem for the region and potentially for the United States.
Yeah. My last point is, in July, the UN came up with some sort of resolution that they were going to ban nuclear weapons, and 122 countries signed on. And it's a joke because, yeah, they want the U.S. to not have nuclear weapons, okay, but then who's going to protect the rest of the world? I mean, North Korea is an example why the United States needs to keep its nuclear arsenal up to date. Thank you for your time, John.